Hello, everyone, and welcome to Herbal Knowledge Keepers with Dakota Granny Woman and myself, Blue Star Deer Woman. And today we have yet another wise and knowledgeable show for you, and it's titled Uncommon Uses for Common Herbs. And you will be able to see this show again. It will be archived. And you'll see notices in the Herbal Knowledge Keeper Facebook group. Which, Dakota, what did you just say to me?
Well, I just told you that this show is the result of a poll we took on Herbal Knowledge Keepers, the Facebook group, and they wanted this, so they're getting it. It may take more than one show, but we'll see how far we can get.
Okay. All right, good. And for everyone who perhaps are new viewers and reminders, is that this show is based upon the Herbal database. And this is the format that you'll see. Dakota brings it up on her screen. And any topics that we address, she's demonstrating here how to use this database. And it's a resource that you are welcome to subscribe to. She's got a great offering price for that. And so each show we try to demonstrate that so that you can get more and more familiar with the tools. And you'll see the links that will be included below in the description of these YouTube videos.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready, let's go.
I'm going to open up my share screen. And you're going to be seeing here the opening screen of the database. I'm going to give you a few pointers as we go through it, just in case you are new to this. And just a minute, let me lower some of the stuff that's in my way. Okay. Alrighty, so this is the opening screen. And we're going to have fun today because we're just going to go exploring. You're going to discover in the database a lot of uncommon uses. The first one we're going to start with is a very common herb. I know all of you are familiar with parsley, right? Whoops, I have to spell it right to get it in there. Well, I don't have to because it knows. Okay. So, dear woman, what comes to mind when you think of parsley?
Oh, I think of its decorative nature that's always put on an entree.
Okay. And maybe to eat afterwards for a breath freshener. That's kind of traditional, right?
Yeah, and I just happen to know that it's high in estrogen. So I always partake in it with that awareness.
Okay. Phytoestrogens, you're right. It is a good source of phytoestrogens, and the phytoestrogens block some of the bad estrogens that we're exposed to, like the xenoestrogens. So they're helpful that way. Now I'm clicking this upward pointing arrow to bring up the information screen. And you see at the top links that you can click on. They'll open up in a new tab. And all of this down here is the text area. And as a reminder, any of these kind of links, you do not click on them or you wind up out of the database. You can right click and then click on open in a new tab. These are studies. So we see here that one of the things that parsley is really good for, and this is the parsley leaf extract, that it's been used to treat diseases or conditions characterized by increased bone resorption. In other words, for example, osteoporosis, osteopenia, parsley leaf extract is going to be real helpful to prevent that and to treat it. It helps the body absorb and use calcium. So there was a study that's cited here. You can click on that and go to it, where they found that just a simple parsley leaf tea, that's another word for infusion here, inhibited bone loss. Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah, that is nice.
Chicory root does a little bit better job. We'll get there in a minute. But let's take a look at some other things that parsley leaf does. Now, off to the left, these are some of the phytochemicals that are in it that are some of the more active phytochemicals. So, you know, if you want to know what these are, just click on them and read about them. I think it's important to do that. If you want to know about the dose, you can click on here. But right now, we're just going to look at some of the things it's good for, which takes us to the upper part of the screen here. There's a scroll bar, and the reason being that there's too much to show on the screen. So we're going to just show that this is the gardening section, how to grow it. It's good for shady areas. But this is one of the biggies, cadmium toxicity. Are you familiar with cadmium?
No, I'm not. I've heard the word, but I don't remember.
Okay. It's a toxic heavy metal, and it's unfortunately pretty common. We get it in our food mostly, but also exposure to petrochemicals. And as it's absorbed into the body, and it does accumulate, it affects our ability to pay attention. Attention deficits, and our perception gets changed. And that's especially true where we're getting too much in the diet. So in the diet, we get most of it from, the highest levels are in meat and vegetables. But there's more in vegetables than meat, but we don't absorb as much from vegetables. And the reason is that fiber, dietary fiber, and phthalates block it. So the moral of that story is, if you are eating meat, be sure you eat some vegetables along with it.
Does it have to do with whether the meat is organic or not?
No, because cadmium's in the atmosphere and in the soil, and
I see.
It's not through the feed.
Okay.
So it can be anywhere and everywhere.
Is there any way to determine that you have cadmium in your system other than what'd you say, memory loss?
Yeah, you could be tested. So if you're interested in that, you could just type in heavy metal.
Uh-huh.
And I think there's testing here. So you could click on that, provocative heavy metal testing. We're not going to go there right now, but parsley is one of the things that helps to block cadmium. And so it's going to be, if you're taking parsley regularly, it's just going to help bring down the levels of the cadmium. So that's one of the cool things it does. But there's something else that I think people are going to be pretty familiar with.
But I have a question. So if when you say take parsley regularly, are we talking about, you know, how much daily, like a bite or two, or?
Well, actually, and this is pretty amazing. One of the big phytochemicals in it is this one, apigenin. And if you look at apigenin, we'll just click on that for a second. This is really, really powerful stuff. I'd suggest everybody go there and read all the stuff that this does. Now, apigenin is super high in parsley, but its highest amounts are in the dried parsley. So if you're taking it fresh, you have to eat, I don't know, like a couple tablespoons. But if you're taking it dry, it's only a pinch to get the same amount of this phytochemical.
Okay. And, you know, I know we've done this before in other episodes, phytochemical. Could you just give us a brief definition?
Yeah. Well, let's just go there. And I'm doing this so people get familiar with how to answer these questions on their own.
Yes.
So I'm going to click this up. There's all kinds of links. But basically, a phytochemical is any non-nutritive plant chemical. Okay, so it's not considered nutritive. It's usually a secondary metabolite. Okay, so
good, thank you.
Let's go back to parsley. And this is the leaf. Parsley root does stuff too, but but most people aren't using parsley root, so we're going to skip that. So it protects the liver. It helps digestion. It helps prevent cancer. It's really high in calcium. But this is the one I wanted to point out that people might not think of. So we did a show on osteoporosis and talked briefly about the use of these glucocorticoid steroid drugs that are used commonly. If you're using a lot of that, one of the things that results in is osteoporosis. And it even has this term, glucocorticoid-induced osteoporosis. Bad news. Basically, your bones are being eaten up by the steroid drug. And so parsley, the aqueous, and that means water, extract of parsley leaf is something that inhibits that kind of bone loss. So if you're on these glucocorticoids for some reason, be drinking parsley leaf tea. You can make it out of the dried or the fresh, and add it to your food. You know, if you make smoothies, just take, you know, put a teaspoon of the parsley leaf in there. Just take it regularly. Let's look at the dose and preparation real quickly here. Let's see what the suggestions are. You see that the raw parsley juice is very potent and strong. Don't take it alone in any higher quantity than 1 to 2 ounces, unless it's mixed with a lot of other juices. It's going to work on the gallbladder to remove gallstones if you take a pint of tea daily. We don't really think of parsley for that either, do we? And for edema, here's a dose for if you've got, and edema is swelling like water, fluid congestion. So if it's in the kidney, bladder, or just general edema, 2 quarts of strong parsley tea and drink that a day. If the urine is suppressed, drink 1/2 to 1 teacup full hot every hour. So these are just a few things we just, you know, we don't think of this stuff. But a few other things. We could spend the whole show on parsley easily. It'll help prevent gastric ulcer. One of the things that it does is it helps bring down high stomach acid. So instead of using the proton pump inhibitor drugs, which are really dangerous, use parsley leaf if you think you have high stomach acid. Usually people don't have enough, and that's what's going on. But if you know that you've got a gastric ulcer going on and you have to be really careful, this is where parsley is going to help you.
So then is parsley like an antidote when we talk about having more alkaline, balancing the alkaline?
No, it's not so much about that. It is alkaline. Most plants are, but it just has. Oh, actually, I made a mistake. It's not the tea. This is from a study that was done on a tincture of parsley leaf. So the tincture, and it's better than the tea, the tincture suppresses gastric secretions and protects against stress-induced peptic ulcers. And I don't know how it works. I haven't found that out, what it's doing exactly. All right. So I'm just going to scroll through here, and then we'll move on to our next herb. And hemorrhoids, infertility. You see there's a lot. And okay, that's enough for parsley. We're going to move on to sage because that's pretty common. So, dear woman, what do you use sage for?
Well, I use it in the traditional sense of burning sage.
Okay.
Yeah, to clear the environment.
Okay, and that's good.
And I did once in my past when I was making lots of tinctures, I made a sage tincture, and I used it just intuitively in the same way as a clearing agent.
Okay. And it is effective. It's antimicrobial, and it's used for memory. But let's just zero in on using it instead of hydrocortisone. So there's a condition called erythema, and all that means is redness. And a lot of things can cause that. You know, you can have just these strange rashes where it's red and itchy, and it's a type of thing where you want to go to the drugstore and get one of those cortisone creams to put on there for relief, or the doctor gives it to you to put on your skin. And it's basically an inflammation of the skin and can be caused by a lot of different things. So one of the things that sage is really good for is replacing the use of those hydrocortisone creams on skin inflammation. You know, when you get some type of skin inflammation, it's all red and itchy. It could be from different things, and your first thought is you're going to go to the drugstore and get a cortisone cream to put on it, or the doctor recommends that, maybe for eczema or something. Well, you have to be real careful with that, because one of the things that happens, especially if you're using it too frequently, is those creams can thin the skin, literally thin the skin, and make it open itself up to invasion by bacteria. So it invites bacterial infection on down the road. That's just one thing. Mm-hmm. And if you take if you take it like every day, and you get up to where you hit 500 grams in over a week, and that could be through shots, you know, a combination of injections and creams or whatever. It can bring on a disease of the adrenals called Cushing's disease, which is really bad news. So it turns out there was a study that was done using a sage ointment, comparing it to hydrocortisone, and they found that it was just as effective as hydrocortisone, and it doesn't do any damage.
So in this window right now, do you have, where would I look to make that ointment, a sage ointment?
Well,
or that would be a different search.
Well, what you would do, I don't have, I could add that here, but what you would just do is look up ointment.
Mm-hmm. And just ointment preparation.
Go to ointment.
Because once again, that's what we're doing, is we're empowering ourselves to be our own medical advocates. So when you hear Dakota mention a salve or a tincture, you go into the database and you look for the information on that preparation.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. So there it is. She just did search for ointment, and we just talked about a sage ointment.
Okay. So, and you would use probably, I would use a combination of making a sage-infused oil as the base, and perhaps adding some sage essential oil to it. That isn't necessary, but it would give it a little bit more oomph.
Okay.
So now we're going to go back here. You see, we do have some recipes, and here's where you can go for more studies. You'll find the studies of what I'm talking about here. But another thing that is really interesting about this is that sage is really good for not only improving the memory in general, but specifically for Alzheimer's. And there have been studies done that show that the use of sage can prevent and even turn back, to a certain extent, progression of Alzheimer's.
Mm. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
What it's doing is it's protecting the brains, the cells of the brain, against something called amyloid beta. Those are like gluey plaques that build up in the brain. Sage goes in there and just protects them from that. And these are from studies.
So when you talk about gooey plaque in the brain, is that anything like the plaque that we talk about in our heart?
It's more specific. That's just kind of like talking. It's the same as saying it's gooey.
Okay.
But you can look up amyloid here and learn all about it. In fact, on Alzheimer's, I think didn't we do a show on Alzheimer's?
Yes, we did.
So,
dementia.
Yeah. So you can learn all about it here.
All right, good.
So think of sage if you want to protect your memory. If you decide that you don't like the idea of getting Alzheimer's. And another cool thing that it does is sage tea slows down the motility in the intestinal tract. And that means that it'll help with diarrhea.
Did you say slows down motility?
Yeah. Motility is a fancy medical term for the contraction in the intestinal tract that's moving food through it. And so it slows that down. In diarrhea, it can be sped up. It says
okay.
out. But and sometimes that's good. You want to get rid of it. But there's definitely times you got to slow it down, and sage tea is one of the things that'll help do that.
Okay.
It also stops gastrointestinal spasms. So I'm just going to kind of click through this so you can see some other things you might not have thought of. That it's antifungal. It's a pain reliever. We did a show on this, anti-nociceptive. And again, one of the things I do is, as much as possible, I back up all of this with clinical studies or traditional uses that are accepted by naturopaths and herbalists everywhere from thousands of years of experience. Helps the digestion, another one high in calcium, heartburn, can be used on the hair, sage rinse, for hot flashes. It's something that helps you just feel in a better frame of mind. Liver cancer, sore throat, it's really good for sore throat. If you make a strong sage infusion and then spray or gargle it, it's just wonderful.
And again, in this one, there's lots of different kinds of sage. Is there any recommended over the other?
Well, kind of. Let's go to salvia, that's the genus. These are different types of sage. Did you know chia was
No.
So chia seeds, yeah.
Huh. Even though, I think I've only seen chia in seeds.
Yeah, and that's what you use.
Oh, okay.
I used to grow it. It's quite lovely. But I, as far as I know, that only the seeds are used. But who knows? You know, we still have so much to learn. Now,
I also know that my preference is the white sage. I just have such an affinity for that. I've tried different sages.
Yeah. Now, this one is, I don't know that for the things that we've been talking about, it would be that useful. I don't know. I know that it's mostly used for the cleaning the atmosphere, so it must be antibiotic, antibacterial, maybe antiviral. And it's also uplifting to the mind and the psychic energies. Spanish sage is probably the best one for Alzheimer's. Studies seem to indicate that that one is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
The this Ganshan red sage is more for the heart and the cardiovascular system. It's really good to use after a heart attack, but these are not common sages. And of course, Salvia divinorum is used as an entheogen for journeying.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how to make your sage smudge sticks. And let's see, so, and it's just plain sage. That's the common garden sage.
Okay.
Most. That's Salvia officinalis. So let's go on. Like I said, we could stay on these things for a whole show.
I think the important thing, again, for our viewers is, we're empowering this database. And the more that you click on things and move around, just take note of how that mapping's working.
Yes, how it's connected and why things are where they are.
Mm-hmm.
These light blue colors are definitions.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit arbitrary. Sometimes I'll start something out as just a definition, and it grows into being more of a therapy or something like that.
Right.
And so I change colors sometimes. Don't let it throw you. Don't take it too literally. Like DHEA could be a therapeutic substance or just a definition. It's a human steroid hormone. Okay, so you'll notice these green colors. This has to do with treatment methods. This is describing the kind of tissue states that sage is really good for. I'm not going to get into that here, but if you wanted to learn about it, you could certainly do that. And then there are almost always cautions. Be sure you check those out. So let's move on to another really common herb, thyme.
Mm-hmm.
Does anything come to mind for you on that?
What the song? What is it? Rosemary, sage, and thyme.
Yeah.
But I don't tend to use thyme much, although I did plant it in my garden this season, and I'm waiting to see what she looks like.
Okay. Yeah, thyme is another favorite, and for good reason. So something that folks may not know is that just a water extract of thyme is really good for people who have recurring cold sores or genital herpes. If you have that problem, if you regularly just do a wash with the thyme, it'll prevent them from popping up. It won't cure them once they're there. It just keeps them from coming back.
Yeah, that's always been my understanding of herpes and cold sores, is that you can help keep them dormant, but you don't necessarily eradicate that from your body.
Well, you won't eradicate it from your body, but you can treat it to make it go away faster.
Yes. Yeah.
So but thyme won't do that. It just prevents it from coming back. And it's also good for alcoholism. What happens with thyme is that, first of all, it helps detoxify the liver and the brain from the effects of alcohol. And it helps prevent alcohol-related damage to both of the areas. But secondly, like a regular alcohol consumption can create something called small intestinal dysbiosis, bacterial dysbiosis, or SIBO. It's just like the bacteria. There's an overgrowth of bacteria in the small intestine. drinking time, if you are taking maybe too much alcohol, is going to help prevent that from happening.
Is that also, you know, when I've seen people who have alcoholism, they get very puffy and swollen.
Yeah, that's the kidneys and liver are affected by it. It's not so much going to help that, but I'll tell you, if somebody decides they want to stop drinking or at least take control of it,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a way to use time for that.
Mm.
So the best form of time, now this time is here. Let me Thymus vulgaris and Thymus serpyllum. Now, pink I have separated out. Let me go there. Yeah, this wild thyme, creeping thyme. That's the one that will do an incredible job. So let's just talk about that one. The other works too, but this one's stronger. So here's what you do. So you take 3 tablespoons of this wild creeping thyme. You can grow it in your garden. And add 1 cup of boiling water and let it sit for an hour. Then take 1 tablespoon every 15 minutes. And what happens is that it causes you to feel sick at the thought of taking a drink. And if you do take a drink, it's going to make you feel nauseated. So you can use it during the first few days where it's just really hard to stay away from alcohol. It's going to keep you from drinking. Now, after you've been over the hump, then what you can do is cut it down to taking maybe 2 or 3 teaspoons a day. And it takes about 2 or 3 weeks for this process to happen. Then you can take another break of 10 days and resume it if it's, you know, if it's somebody that needs to keep at it for a while. Obviously, there are other things you want to do, but this is effective. Let's see, where were we? We were on this regular garden time. Okay, so let's move on to dill. I know you like dill.
Yes.
Dill makes birthing easier.
Well, I am going through some cosmic passageway right now.
Okay. You might need Salvia divinorum, but anyway, so let's see what this does. It helps get rid of worms. It's an antioxidant. It helps control appetite. If for some reason you're noticing you're eating way too much, you can chew on some dill seeds, and it will just help. It'll change probably the ghrelin hormone, but it'll change your appetite so that you just don't have that pain. In fact, it's used for fasting. If you go on a fast and you just are having a really hard time, or if there isn't any food available and you're really uncomfortable, just chew on dill seeds. To relieve those hunger pains. And or you could, drink some dill tea. That'll do pretty much the same thing. That'll probably work better for weight control. And what's happening is it's affecting the serotonin, which plays a role in our sense of hunger. And it increases the serotonin in the brain. And so that's kind of how that works. It's also used on the skin cosmetically to improve skin elasticity. Now you'll find the studies and information on all of these things I'm talking about, either as studies here or on these links. So, and there's a lot more that I'm not even getting to, of course. Here's boiled dill seeds as an effective way to control pain and the progress of labor. More studies here. So this is a powerful medicine. Here's about how, whoopsie, this is how it improves skin elasticity, including wrinkles. Okay, so let's see here. Where do we want to go next? Well, let's just scroll through a few things about dill. Stop me if you see anything that captures your interest here.
Okay.
Good for high cholesterol. It helps to relieve menstrual pain. It'll get rid of flatulence. Another one high in calcium. For hiccups.
No.
Intestinal fermentation.
So how, when you talk about intestinal fermentation, I always think of like the probiotics.
Well, the probiotics are supposed to be, and this gets a little complicated, but there's good fermentation and bad fermentation. And the good fermentation is what our friendly gut bacteria are doing to food that we're eating in order to produce certain things like short-chain fatty acids that we need. But if the wrong bacteria are taking over, or we're eating the wrong kind of food, then another kind of fermentation happens that's not really beneficial, and you start feeling things like bloating.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're feeling really bloated and passing a lot of gas, you might think that there could be some of that kind. And so you can take some dill tea if you wish.
Okay.
And it'll do that.
Right.
Another thing that dill will do, let me just kind of roll through this. Yeah, steroid-induced diabetes. There are a lot of people taking steroid drugs, and they don't realize that diabetes can be the end result of that. So here we are, where if you're doing steroids, it would be helpful for you to include dill. Not just a few seeds in your potato salad, but actually drinking dill tea. And you can mix it with other herbs, to make a tea that you like. Some people might. Have you ever taken dill tea?
No, I haven't.
Hey, are you going to?
Yeah, as soon as I can harvest mine. Mine's still babies.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to another. Well, no, let's scroll through here. Oh, it'll lower triglycerides that are too high. And it treats epilepsy.
Wow.
Yeah, powerful, huh?
It is powerful. I'm surprised that we haven't heard more of that, just in the mainstream homeopathic exchange of recipes and what have you.
Well, it's the problem is that there's so much. And I think a lot of us are really attracted to the novel, new, exotic stuff. We think that this latest herb from Morocco is going to surely the one that's going to take care of things.
Exactly, and the fountain of youth is the herb we just got from Hawaii.
Moringa is the one that we all want.
Moringa. Yes, I'm growing moringa.
Oh, is it growing?
Yes, it is. My plants are probably about 9 inches tall now.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, they're very healthy, and they actually already appear as the tree. You see the very tiny oval-shaped leaves.
Oh, how sweet! Oh boy,
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
But, you know, it's exciting that you're growing dill too.
That what?
You're growing dill too.
Yes, I am. They're little. They're only about 3 inches tall.
Oh. Okay, we're going to another great underappreciated herb, chicory.
Yeah, chicory. That's got that bitter taste to it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a little hot tip for you. For women that are concerned about high cortisol and perhaps estrogen dominance,
Mm.
one of the things that we are to avoid is drinking coffee first thing in the morning.
Well, let me ask you something. I've never heard high estrogen.
Oh yeah, estrogen dominance. And it's real common.
What's the symptoms of that?
Here, let's just pull it up.
Yeah, because I mean, I hear more frequently not enough estrogen, especially women who are going through the changes.
Yeah, no. A lot of it's because we're flooded with estrogens, false estrogens like herbicides, plastics. They're called xenoestrogens.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons, one of the big ones. And it stays in the body and it throws things off. But also if the liver isn't functioning well, see, the liver gets rid of used up estrogen and dumps it out in the bile into the intestine. And then if you have good fiber, it rides along and leaves the body. But if the liver isn't working right, or it's too busy detoxing for other things, or well, I won't go into too much detail, but if the liver isn't breaking it down right, or the bile, you don't have bile flow, or you're not eating enough fiber, that estrogen can, instead of being excreted, gets recycled back into the body.
Yeah.
And so that's just some of what happens. But you see all these different symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also if women don't have enough progesterone to balance it out, which is what happens. Well, there are different reasons, but sometimes the reason you're estrogen dominant is just because you don't have enough progesterone. So that's okay. So what I was saying though is that not to drink that first cup of coffee before eating breakfast is a strongly suggested recommendation that's very painful for many of us.
Yeah, I'll say.
And so what I've discovered through a great deal of experimentation, you can get roasted chicory root that's already finely cut up, and you can put it in some cold water overnight to soften the root up, and then bring it to a boil, turn it off, let it sit, strain it. Now already it's very much like the taste of coffee. Now this is for people who just like that experience. It's not so much that you need the high, the rush. It's that there's just something comforting about having that coffee in the morning, the whole ritual.
Yeah.
Here you have something that tastes already a lot like coffee. And I have discovered that if you put a little bit of blackstrap molasses, note I have never liked blackstrap, but when I add it to chicory, now I have a drink that really tastes a lot like coffee. And so you drink that and hold off on the coffee until after you've eaten. You can have it just later. And now what happens is you're not going to be pumping up the cortisol too high in the morning. with the caffeine. And you're not going to be pushing estrogen. Coffee can push estrogen higher. And you're going to get a lot of benefit from that chicory. First of all, on the liver. And some of the things it's good for, if you're losing your vision, you're getting older, and you're losing your vision, it's going to help. And it's really, really good for building up bone density. It's one of the best things for older women who are concerned about their bones. That cup of chicory in the morning is going to be real, real helpful to you. Another thing it does is it prevents diabetes.
That's good. I remember in, I think it was the early 70s, the chicory substitute for coffee. That was really popular. And
Yeah.
I think maybe they only offered one brand then. I was out in California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even until recently, it was mixed with coffee and sold, I think, as like a Louisiana type brand.
Huh.
I can't find it. I can't find it anymore.
Mm.
So it's a strong antioxidant. If you've lost your appetite, you need to get your appetite back. The chicory can help. Drinking it before a meal is a bitter herb. Don't sweeten it if you want to improve digestion and appetite. Good for chronic arthritis, for overactive bladder, bladder stones, cellulite, gallbladder stones, or gallbladder inflammation. It helps to bring down fevers. It's good for people who are convalescing after an illness, and they're just in that weak state. Mm-hmm. So it just brings strength back. These are some of the, over here, some of the things that are in it. And you could read about those and see why they're considered really important, especially this one, FOS. People buy that as an expensive supplement, but it's in chicory. Yeah, fatigue, tiredness, acute fever. Here again, this glucocorticoid-induced osteoporosis, mm-hmm. gout, hepatitis. In fact, well, I think I want to get to, let's see here. Let's skip through because, well, I'll just tell you, one of the ones that I really like is that it helps, the root of it really helps to inhibit anaphylaxis. So there can be these mast cells in the body that are part of the biochemistry that cause these strong allergic reactions. They can be hypersensitive, hyperreactive, and chicory tones that down. So if you know what, if you have a super hypersensitivity and strong allergy due to that, chicory's going to help. Poor vision again, water retention. Okay, it's an edible food. The flowers are edible. The greens are wonderful. Of course, the root.
Oh, could you scroll over the picture of chicory?
Isn't it pretty?
Oh my, it is pretty. And so what part of that are we using? Oh, you said the chicory root.
The root for all of these medicinal things that we just went through, it's the root. Mm-hmm. And it can be used raw or roasted. It doesn't lose its medicinal properties roasted.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's kind of the same roasting process that you would put coffee beans, yeah?
Not quite.
No.
No, you do coffee beans in the popcorn popper, and you would roast this the same way you do dandelion root.
which is
Uh,
just
I think I might have directions on that in here. Let me just check
okay.
the oven.
Oh,
Or,
so you're just baking it.
yeah, slowly. And
Okay. There, yeah.
let's just see. I'm just curious. I'm pretty sure I have put uh, directions on that.
There's a dandelion coffee recipe. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So these are some of the things. Dandelion's amazing. You know, it's very common. A lot of people are aware of it. It's a strong medicine, but this is just an example of some of the stuff. It's antimicrobial. This is the root. It's considered now, they're really excited about it in medical science and the clinical studies. It has unique cancer preventative and treatment properties. They're unique for leukemia and really looking at, of course, making a drug out of it for leukemia, but it has a way of taking on leukemia that nothing else has. It's very strong. Melanoma, and pancreatic cancer, helps with obesity, significant role in hindering the formation of fat cell or accumulation of fat. Prostate cancer, it's an antidepressant. We'll just look at dandelion while we're here. How's that?
Okay. Yeah, we were just looking for roasting, but we could probably look up.
I probably have it in here, but I don't see it right off the bat. Let's see. Okay, so you see these leukemias. It is a tropho-restorative for the liver, and what that means is that it actually restores the tissue itself and restores the function. So it's bringing the liver back to life. It's for colon cancer.
Right.
So liver cirrhosis, that's a tough thing, you know. But if you're using a liver restorative or a tropho restorative, you can stop and reverse liver cirrhosis.
For those that are watching, if there's any particular category of this that you're interested in, just let us know in the Herbal Knowledge Keeper group Facebook page.
Yeah, yeah. And we would love to know if you have any direct experience using any of these for a health condition and either had results or didn't, and how you used it. That this is the important conversation that all of us benefit by. So please join the Herbal Knowledge Keepers Facebook group if you haven't already. Jump in, tell us a little bit about yourselves. And we do take suggestions for shows. The Herbal database you can sign up for at herbaldatabase.org. And dear woman, why don't you close by telling them about our new Full Bloom Productions?
Yes. So we are in the process of launching the continuing series of our shows. The Herbal Knowledge Keepers, which you've been a part of today, and Get Lit, which some of you may be familiar with. And we have 2 other programs that are coming our way. And we are now under the umbrella of Full Bloom Productions, Ozark Artist Heroes. And it's a nonprofit, 501c3. And we are getting very close to launching a spanking brand new website that Dakota has been putting all her granny geek effort into. That's just going to be brilliant. And so pretty soon we will announce that on the social network and begin to share our platform with all of you. So in the meantime, stay connected to the Herbal database, and we're so grateful for your participation, and we'll see you again.